All right, there's reports that Mike McDaniel, if the Dolphins lose this Friday, I can't believe we're even saying this, that Mike McDaniel could be fired. Look, the Dolphins have been an interesting organization, to say the least, the last couple of years. Not as bad as the Texans have been, but they've been kind of a disaster in their own way. The one thing I think that they did get right, regardless of how the season does end, is I think they hired the right coach. Mike McDaniel was the right coach for this team. And Mike McDaniel, before Tua started breaking down at the end of the season, he had a guy who many questioned his future. He had Tua in MVP discussion. There was a talk about, who's the MVP of the league right now, Tua and Patrick Mahomes. And in a very short time in his first year in the league, Mike McDaniel had Tua in MVP discussion. So I think it would be absolutely silly if Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, decided to fire Mike McDaniel for whatever reason, whether it's because he has Sean Payton on standby or whatever. Firing Mike McDaniel would be absolutely silly. It would be crazy. Now, Armando Salguero of Outkick is the one that's put it out there. I know Barstool's talked about it. A lot of people have talked about it. And the reason that I think it's even getting any run is because Armando's been around the team for a long time. And Miami is a weird organization that you don't know what they're going to do. And maybe the owner overreacts to an end of a season like this. If they do that, the Texans don't need a coaching search. There doesn't need to be a coaching search. Lovie Smith needs to be done. Thank you for what you gave the Texans for a year, but the Texans need to be looking for the best candidate possible. We've talked about D'Amico Ryans. We've talked about Jonathan Gannon. We've talked about Ben Johnson. We've talked about a lot of candidates and a lot of potential hires. And a lot of these guys excite Texans fans for many, many reasons. There seems to be a large amount of people that say that the Texans need an offensive-minded coach. I like what Ben Johnson's done in Detroit. I like what the guy in Philadelphia has done. But Mike McDaniel's one of the best young offensive minds in the NFL. And he's established. He's proven himself. A lot of people were skeptical. Okay, you were with Kyle Shanahan all this time. We know Kyle Shanahan's kind of the brains behind the operation. How much does Mike McDaniel have to do with this? What is Mike McDaniel going to do in Miami? He had Tua as an effing MVP candidate. That's what he did. Tua broke down. Tua was breaking down in college before. So if this happens, if word gets out that the Miami Dolphins are really going to fire Mike McDaniel, this coaching search is very simple. Cal McNair picks up the phone. He calls the Miami Dolphins. He offers up a draft pick. They're going to fire him. They're not going to get anything anyways. Might have to pay him too. Start with the fourth. They don't want that. Give them one of your extra thirds. No reason to give up the second or one of the first because they're going to fire him anyways. So if it costs a third and a fifth, if it costs a third and a fourth, whatever it costs, if it just costs your best third, make the trade. Don't even let Mike McDaniel hit the market. You got the best offensive mind available, possibly, in Mike McDaniel. You don't have to go through this coaching search. And then the next step of the whole thing, fly Mike McDaniel to Houston, go to the introductory press conference. I'm sure it's going to be an entertaining one because he's always entertaining. And from that introductory press conference, I'm assuming it'll be right there in the club level at NRG. Been there many a times. I was there when they introduced Lovie Smith. Good press conference, by the way, Lovie. Take the elevator down, walk past the locker room, take a right, go in the room where they study tape and they crunch tape, get some popcorn for Mike McDaniel, Nick Caserio, James Lifford. Hell, if the rumors are true and Mike McDaniel likes to light up, get him a few doobies and watch the tape of all the quarterback prospects and let Mike McDaniel pick whichever one he wants and get this rebuild started. It's that simple. If the Dolphins are that stupid, then the Texans should be more than willing to pay the price to bring in one of the best offensive minds. Don't know if it's true, but if it is, make it happen, Cal.